So, uh, our topic today is mergers and acquisitions. And nowadays, in the world, this is a very common trend in the corporate world uh, for mergers and acquisitions. Firms normally grow, and when they become so big and their competitors are there, so they try to take over those competitors in order to create a monopoly type situation. Uh, so there are many ways that the companies can take over the others, or they can merge together. So what we want to learn, there are some different basic definitions regarding mergers and acquisitions, as well as what benefits they can get it by these way. So this is mostly a very theoretical type of chapter in which there is no so much calculations, except the tax benefits, but we can talk a little bit about that as well. So mergers and acquisition. Uh, what key skills or concepts we're going to talk in this whole chapter or whole topic is the different types of mergers and acquisition. That's one thing what we're going to learn from this chapter, why they should or should not take place, and the terminologies associated with them. So that's the one thing what we're going to learn is different definitions, concepts, or types of mergers and acquisitions. Distinguish between taxable versus tax-free acquisitions. So that's the one more thing we're going to learn it. Understand how accountants construct the combined statement of financial position of a new company. Understand some financial side effects of a mergers and acquisitions. Compare cash versus common stock financing in a mergers and acquisitions. Be able to estimate the NPV of a merger or an acquisition. Know the gains from a mergers or acquisition and how to value the transactions. Understand divestitures involving equity carves out or a spins off. So these are the things that we're gonna learn it, and how the different defensive tactics are used by the target firm's management in order to avoid the acquisitions. Now, the difference between merger and consolidation. Now, merger we use when one firm is acquired by another. That's what we call it as a merger. Now, when there is a merger, acquiring firm retain name and acquired firms cease to exist. They take it, merge it, and then the other one is going to be finished. Advantage of this merger is legally simple because there is only one firm, the other one is ceased. Uh, The disadvantage must be approved by stockholders of both the firms. Like mergers can only take place when the stockholders of both the firms are agreed on. On the other hand, what is consolidation is entirely a new firm is created from combination of existing firms. So new firms, two firms merged and evaluate a new firm. So in the case of a merger, there's a one firm, the other firms comes and merge in it. Uh, and in consolidation, it's two firms comes together and then develop a new firm. Now, so this is all about mergers. Now, what is an acquisitions? A firm can be acquired by purchasing voting shares of the firm stock. So if we a firm is considered to be acquired by another firm if they own 51% voting shares of that firm. So that's what we call it as an acquisition in corporates. Tender offer, public offer to buy shares. That is also possible that the firms are selling their shares in the market and say that we want to, we are looking for some buyer of that firm up till that percent of shares so that they can acquire that. The other possibility is that they some firms offer a bid like we want to buy yours. So one thing is that the firm itself is offering that we want to sell it, sell ourselves. The other one, what we call it as a circular bid, that you offer them, okay, I want to buy you with this price. So takeover bid communicated to shareholders by direct mail. And the third one is that you bid to stock market, like you buy the shares from the stock market. takeover bid communicated to shareholders through a stock market, stock exchange. Now, stock acquisitions, no stockholder vote required because you are buying stocks from the market or from the by bidding. In this case, there is for mergers, there is a required that the voters vote for that, can deal directly with the stockholders even if the management is unfriendly. So you gradually buy the stocks from the stockholders without involving the management. That is also possible. Maybe delayed if some target shareholders hold out for a money. Complete absorption requires a merger. So there is a possibility that this process takes more time as we have to buy and some stockholders are not ready to sell. That's a possibility. Acquisition classification, horizontal, that is possible that the acquired firms are horizontally merging. Both firms are of the same industry, like two auto manufacturers buy the other one. So it's going to be a auto industry, horizontal, the same industry. Vertical means that you are acquiring a firm for supply chain management. You want to your raw materials, so you buy the firm which are providing your raw material. That's a vertical integration or vertical acquisitions. So, we use these concepts in other way as well, like vertical integration of the firms, like they are in the same industry, so they can use their experiences of one firm in order to promote the other firm or the acquired firm. Horizontal, vertical integration or a vertical way is that you want to buy the firms which are your main suppliers or which are your main buyers. So this way that vertically different stages of production process. Conglomerate firms are unrelated, like you are buying in different industries. The objective is to diversify your business, like you buy airline, you buy a shipping line, and you buy some hotel resorts. So these are the things that create a conglomerate type of business. Takeovers, control of a firm transfer from one group to another. There is another way that this acquisition can take place, and this is what we call it as a market takeover or hostile takeover. Like you secretly or without declaring in the media or without informing too much about the people, you are buying the shares of a one company, and suddenly you declare that, okay, we now own 51% of those shares, so now this is our firm. So this is the way that we can do that. It's what we call it as a hostile takeovers. Possible forms of a takeover is acquisition, mergers or consolidation, or acquisition of stocks or acquire of asset. That's also possible that you gradually buy the assets of a firm and suddenly you say that, okay, we own this much assets of this firm. So technically we are the owners of this firm. But that is possible with the in a situation where the firms are owned by a very single family or very single few people, not a publicly traded firms. So, takeover continued, proxy contest, attempt to gain control of a firm by soliciting a sufficient number of shareholders vote to replace existing management. That is also possible that you collect the proxy firms. Going private, and all publicly owned stocks in a firm is replaced with a completely equity ownership by a private group. And leveraged buyout, that is also possible. That leveraged buyout means that you borrow money and buy the stocks in order to get the control of that firm. Going private transaction in which a large percentage of a money used to buy the stocks is borrowed. Often incumbent management is involved. Like if the management wants to buy, like if the existing management wants to buy the ownership because they don't want that we should be replaced or we should be kicked out of the corporation. So what they do, they say, okay, we if you are selling it to the other party, why not you sell it to us, and we're going to buy it by borrowing money from the banks or financial institutions. What are the alternatives to mergers is a strategic alliance. That is another a possibility that not to do some a real transfer of ownership. What you do, you make a partnership with the firms, and especially in a horizontal way. And we observe this in a many ways, like airlines are converting into alliances, and the alliances uh, mm, sell the tickets in a way that, okay, this is my this, and the ownership goes to one airline, but they can use the airlines others, and this way they can provide the facility to the customer, uh, without any problem, because there's no need to negotiate the price. They already have an agreement within that strategic alliances, agreement between firms to cooperate in pursuit of a joint goal. Joint venture is also possible, that there is some specific project in which they can join hands together. And we see that many mega projects in the world, in different parts of the world, is done through joint ventures. Not a single firm can afford, can execute so huge or mega projects. So what they do joint venture with many firms and do that. So there is a possibility, like strategic alliances and joint ventures are possible. Now, what are the tax implication when we do mergers and acquisitions? So taxes, tax-free acquisition. One is called as a tax-free acquisition. Exchange of shares, no cash involved. We just exchange the shares without involving at cash, because if there's a cash transaction, if there's a sale and purchase on the basis of cash, then there's a tax involved. That's with the holding tax or with the sales tax type of things. So continuity of equity interest, shareholders of a target firm must be able to maintain an equity interest in the combined firm. Generally stock for stock acquisition and taxable acquisition. So it's a tax-free acquisition when we are transferring the stock. They say, okay, you are the owner, you are the stockholder of a ABC. Now we converting this ABC firm with the acquisition to other firm, and now it's a XYZ. So what is happening, that the stockholders having a stock of a ABC now having a stock of a XYZ. So in that case, there is no tax involvement because there is no cash involvement. There is no capital gain or there is no capital loss involved. So this is what we call it as a tax-free acquisitions. There is also a possibility of a taxable acquisitions, share purchased with cash, and assets are written up or affects depreciation expense. All these things can affect their tax implications. So accounting for acquisition, the purchase method, assets of acquired firms are written up for their fair market value, and goodwill is created difference between purchase price and the market price of the or estimated fair market value of the net assets. So if there is a difference between the price you are paying for the firm and the price and the fair market value of the assets, the difference is treated as a goodwill in the books of the acquirer or the buyer. Goodwill must be treated for impairment annually and depreciated or amortized over a period of time. Equity of acquired firm is bought out. So this is all about the acquisitions. What we so far discuss is acquisitions.